not say that it looks like it is. Well, I'll just keep going until something tells me that I can't anymore. But I didn't know anything about Moon Knight. I don't know anything about this character, which for me is kind of wild because as soon as they reveal that it was about the moon and moon related, I like moon related things. And I think that's why some of my friends have been telling me that I have to get into this show because they have things that are moon related and I like that sort of thing. So just like starting with episode 1, I really wasn't sure what to expect or what this character had going on. I don't know. I just want to kind of keep this section of it short, especially since I don't have visuals for the first 2 episodes. And so, I don't know. All I can say about Moon Knight is that I've never been pulled into a show so quickly because I am immediately interested. It's scary and it doesn't feel like it exists within the MCU. You know? And I know that it probably needs time to do that, which is fine. But for me, it just kind of seems like I've never been, like, especially for a character that I don't know anything about. Like, I feel like the other TV shows, like WandaVision and Loki and even and Falcon and Captain America, Loki, the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. What was the name of that show? Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I feel like all of them had established characters, so even if the show wasn't interesting, we were tuning in because we were familiar with those characters. Some of them did not take, like for me, Falcon and Winter Soldier never got interesting. I did not really retain much of what happened in that series besides Sam being a struggle Captain America and him and Bucky having very close, like, homoerotic moments. For some reason. But I like it as a show so far. I think that the character, him, is that what DID is? Disassociative ID? I don't know what it stands for. And I don't want to be disrespectful to that community. But that was a twist that I didn't expect. And of course, like, I guess that's obvious for people that were already familiar with the character, which, again, I was not in any way, shape, or form. So being completely new to the experience and having no idea what to expect, I enjoyed it. I don't know if it's true to the comics or if fans feel a certain way about it, but on the outside looking in, it was very enjoyable for me. So, yeah, I liked it. And what else? Anything of note that I wanted to, because I'm just looking through my bullet point notes, and I wanted to do this. I had more things to actually say and flesh out these thoughts. I was supposed to do that in between the last podcast and then doing the show, but it literally ended and I went right into this because I still wanted to run this on time. And because I really want to get to playing Ghost of Tsushima because Iki Island has been crazy so far, and I just haven't played that game very much. Like, I would like to. What note is this? I would just hate to exist in the Marvel Universe. Like, normal citizens just have it so rough. That was his truck. Oh, I'm thinking about when he jumped in the first episode, when he jumped into the cupcake truck and took off with it. And Mance was just like, that's my truck. At least that's what it sounded like he said to me. He could have been speaking a different language. But just everyday citizens, people that park their cars in New York and suddenly have to worry about the Hulk just running down the street or whatever and fucking all their shit up. I think that is mad stressful. Like, do they have insurance specifically for that? Because that to me is a stressful way to live. I think someone on TikTok made a map of all Avenger Marvel superhero activity, and New York City had like the most absolute disgusting amount more of like superheroes in the area. So they're like, if you want to commit crime, don't do it in New York. But I feel like just the collateral damage of living there, I wouldn't be able to do it. Let me see. The chicken truck, that's in all capital letters for some reason. Like, I guess I was really taken from that. He says having ankle restraints on the bed is a red flag, and I just had to write that down, I guess, because I strongly disagree with that notion. I don't think that having ankle restraints on the bed is a red flag. Why would that be a red flag? Are they clean? Are we going to have a discussion about consent and aftercare? Have we reached this point in our getting to know one another where we both feel comfortable with this? Maybe I'm surprised by the ankle restraints, and that's fine. I like surprises. I would have to evaluate how I felt in that moment. Why would that be a surprise? It's kind of kinky. I don't think there's anything wrong with it, but do I want to be surprised by it, or do I want to know that up front? I'm pretty upfront about what I like. When he was stood up on his date, he got his steak well done. He must really be hurting. That's how I felt. And his truffles falling on the floor. After being stood up on the date like that, the truffles falling on the floor, that would have been my 13th reason. I probably would have just given up exactly in that moment. Not my chocolate on the floor. But the fight on the cupcake truck reminded me in preschool, I will never forget, I shoved a cupcake down this girl named Brittany's dress because she took a cupcake and put it in a hat that someone had gotten me because it was my birthday. And that's why we had cupcakes, because my mom had brought cupcakes to my class for me. And so, like, what a bitch move. Like, I don't know why she was such a bitch at such a young age. But she put the cupcake in my hat. So I pulled open. She was literally like the epitome of a super spoiled little girl. I pulled her dress open and I shoved a cupcake down the dress and I squished it closed. I don't think I got in trouble for that. So, yeah. Let me see. I put it's the daddy energy for me. When he said, let me save us. Like, okay, I can let you save us. That's how that felt. And nothing terribly exciting for episode 2. I do think that I like the first episode a whole lot more. But I like that they answered more things. That's when we learn that, about Khonshu, the Egyptian god of the moon. And that I do love the Avatar reference of the first episode. And he was like, yeah, I'm the Avatar. He was like, yeah, the blue people, the movie. And he was like, no. And he was like, yeah, no, the anime. That was a very funny moment. So, yeah. Introducing this character of Layla. She was pretty cool. Then all of a sudden, I'm like, oh no. I was happy for him. I'm like, oh, he's not as alone. Cool. Thumbs up. It is working. That's, we don't have to be sad for him. But then they're getting a divorce. And I was sad. Like, why? I don't know. I was very sad for him. I guess the big scary voice in his head is Khonshu, the moon god. Him saying break his windpipe for some reason was very funny to me. This man, what is the point? Do we know why he is crushing up glass? I know that's from the very beginning of the first episode. Why is he crunching up glass to put in his shoes to walk? Why is he purposely doing this? It makes the bottom of my feet itch. Kink shit, no, it's not acceptable. I don't want to be up on that. I never wish to know. I wish to remain ignorant on this particular thing for the rest of my life. I don't ever want that knowledge. I cannot handle that. I cannot handle that. My right foot. I need to press my foot against something because because also, okay. There's a version of the Little Mermaid. So like Disney didn't make the Little Mermaid. The Little Mermaid is like, Hans Christian Andersen. And so there's all sorts of Little Mermaid versions that exist. And there's one that's illustrated by Charles Santor. And it's my favorite. And I'm so sad because I haven't been able to find, I haven't looked recently. I'm sure it's probably easy to find now. But I haven't been able to find a copy of this book. And it used to be my favorite book. Maybe it's like a penance. That's what I was thinking. And then I thought I will never feel that sorry about anything ever in this life. I just wouldn't. I could not. I try to own my shit. But if someone was like, yeah, to forgive you, I need you to crush up glass and put it in your shoe when you walk around. Well, fuck you. That's how I feel about that. Alright. That would, no, never. Never. I was saying about the Little Mermaid illustrated by Charles Santor. It is the most beautiful illustrations. And also, like, her name isn't Ariel. Like, Disney does own that. Like, King Triton, Ariel, Sebastian, Flounder. The character is Ursula. But in the story, she is the fifth sister born from this mermaid family. And they do have a tradition that when they reach a certain age, they go up to the surface and they're able to look around and explore and come back down. But, like, it's bizarre. They talk about how, like, part of being a princess and being beautiful is having, like, decorative, like, shells shoved up in between the scales, so, like, that they sit in their, like, fluke type, their tail thing, and that's how they decorate their shells, and with pearls and things like that. Like, it's a very interesting take in this watercolors, and the Ariel character is a brunette, and it, like, one of the things when she goes to the sea witch in exchange for, like, getting the human legs and sacrificing her voice, part of the deal from the sea witch is whenever she takes a step, it feels like knives are cutting into her feet. And that's just the part of the package. She gets her human legs, but she gives her voice up, and it feels like knives every time she walks. And she's just like, okay, whatever, sign me up. And so she goes up to the surface, and she literally just has to deal with that. She's a mermaid, like, she's really a mermaid. So all of the other... You loosely heard of that, right? Yeah, that's the real mermaid. It's like, it's harsh out there, and it doesn't have a happy ending. It does not have a... It depends on how you view happy endings. But I'm going to just tell y'all, this is where it's going. So, no, like, yeah, so she's a mermaid, and all of the other, like, princes that are trying to court the prince are trying to, it's very Bridgerton-esque, where they're just like, I can play the pianoforte, or whatever the fuck, and they're displaying their talents, but and they say in the story that because she's a mermaid, she's far more graceful than any human could even, like, dare to dream to be. So she goes and dances. Her dancing makes her stand out, even though her feet, like, get cut to the point by these invisible knives because it's so painful that they literally start bleeding, and she's just, like, laughing it off as she's, like, moving gracefully and dancing, and she gets the prince's attention. But he has her sleep on a cushion outside his door and calls her his little foundling because she did rescue him from the shipwreck, like in the movie. But she's not the one that he sees when he wakes up on the beach. Instead, where she washes him up on shore, it's outside of this other princess's castle. And she's the one that actually comes down with her ladies' maids and rescues him on the beach. So she didn't pull him from the water, but they just assume that he washed up. So then he's going to marry her. So he has that princess in the bedroom, but he's like, no, you're a beautiful creature that can dance even though your feet bleed, and that's kind of weird. But you can sleep on a cushion outside my bed. I was sick to my stomach. I was disgusted when I read that. I was like, this is bullshit, but that's how it went. The bullshit that men do. But she was, like, honored to do that. It gets worse. So, same thing. She has the little amount of time or whatever to to get him to fall in love with her. And that's not happening. So, and she tries all sorts of ways, like, goes hiking with him and like, bitch, you can't walk. Why the fuck are you going hiking? But also, like, when it comes down to it, she's out there on the very last night knowing that she's about to essentially die and turn to like foam on the water. They say that that's how mermaids die. Like, mermaids typically live like hella long, like 500 years, but when they die, their bodies turn to foam on top of the water. And so she's all out there sad, like on the ship or whatever, like, and she looks out at the water, and all of her sisters come up, and they all have really short hair because they cut off their hair to get to the sea witch in exchange for a dagger. And with that dagger, she has to kill the prince. Shit gets dark. She has to kill the prince, and she has to sprinkle his blood on her legs and her feet, and that's going to turn it back into a mermaid tail, and then she can go back to being a mermaid. Like, that's the price that has to be paid. And so she goes and she takes the dagger, and she goes into the prince's bedroom where he's cuddled up with the princess that he's about to marry, and she's standing over him, and she's just like, no, I can't do it. So she goes back to the deck of the ship, and she launches herself over, and she dies, and her body dissolves into foam on the top of the ocean, just like the prophecy always said it would. That's a fair price. That's harsh. And but then, like, something miraculous happens, and she feels her spirit being lifted up. Mermaids don't have spirit, so this is wild. She feels her spirit being lifted up, and it turns out that because of her sacrifice and not killing the prince, she's been selected. She's honorable enough, she's good enough, whatever, to be a sister of the air. And they fly around as nature spirits and fan. Yesterday's prize is not today's prize. They fan the air and perfume the flowers and move the waters and things like that. They're basically nature spirits, and she has been deemed honorable enough to be one, which is important because the beginning of the book, they expressed that what made her different, just like Ariel, she was curious about things. Being a mermaid, like, she couldn't cry, she couldn't smell things under the water, like, she couldn't experience those things, and that's why the human world was so beautiful. So now, as this spirit, even though she died as a mermaid, she now gets to be this forever spirit that goes around the world and does these beautiful nature things. So at the end of the book, spirit goes in and kisses the prince on the cheek, and kisses the princess that he's gonna marry on the cheek. I would have put my spirit into her body and suffocated her as she slept. And then she flew off, and that's the end of the book, and that's The Little Mermaid. That's a better deal. Air is the element of freedom. I prefer that. I don't know. I could see a good way of existing for both. Like, but that's me who would want to be a mermaid. She was already a mermaid and not happy. Sucks for her sisters. Can you imagine the one sister that's just like, so do we get our hair back? That would be me. I'd be like, we cut our hair for this bitch. I don't give a fuck. Sister of the air. This is the fuck. Bitch, come back. Like, their hair was so beautiful. That was the best part of these watercolor illustrations by Charles Santor. I'm about to be pissed off. For that nigga? Like... So, oh wait, yeah, we were talking about Moon Knight, weren't we? Yeah. So I don't know. Break his windpipe. One of the frustrating things for me in this episode was them eating the soup. I don't know. He was like, you gotta try the lentil soup. And it was like, I don't know. It was like the stagiest thing. There was nothing in that bowl. And I'm like, is this soup just air and beans? Because that's what it seems like. And that was just a very funny moment for me. Like, there's no soup in that bowl. He killed that old man for no reason. That was, yeah. When he was like going through with his like cane judging people because the old man happened to pick up the scarab. And I'm also like, has no one seen The Mummy where the guy went and got the beautiful scarabs? He had like the beautiful scarabs, but it turned out to be a scarab that broke out of it and went into his skin, and that's the one that crawled up into his skull. Has no one done the research? We don't pick up scarabs. That's what I learned. I learned not to pick up scarabs. And that quicksand is everywhere and will kill you very quickly, like the name suggests. I was an adult. Yeah, I don't know. I'm happy that I used to have a nightmare about quicksand. And there was because I used to play baseball, and there was a kid that got killed in the quicksand. Like, and he was on my baseball team. Like, I don't know why I dreamed about him. I was probably like 8, 9 years old. That's really weird. Yeah. Quicksand wasn't it for me. Is Moon Knight giving you Hawkeye vibes in that level of care? No. In fact, I really, really like this series. It doesn't feel Marvel-y to me, which isn't a bad thing or a good thing. Like, to me, it's a good thing because it means that it can exist as just like a good show on its own, even if it was outside the MCU. So I like this show, and no, I like it a lot. I'm frustrated because I just remember the last time I was reviewing show or talking about shows for the stream, I wanted to have visuals and wanted to put that in. And I want to be more prepared to do that now with like this show. So it's kind of hard to talk about things. I'm a visual person, so I want to have visuals when I talk about things, and I'm frustrated that I didn't have time to prepare that. And it's just, me wanting to get through this, and we can go ahead and play Tsushima, and next week when we jump into episode 3, like, we can have a more, like, I don't know, I feel a better conversation, like a more quality conversation. But I care about this so much more than Hawkeye. Like, way more. I think that it's just instantly enjoyable. It's scary. It's kind of scary. It's scary. This show's scary. And I don't like being scared typically, but I'm enjoying myself, and I think that's what's important. Yeah, so I'm really enjoying this show. I don't know anything about the character. I think I said that a couple times. Yeah, I don't know anything about the character. I don't know. I'm not familiar with the comics at all. So I don't know if it's accurate or if they're doing justice by this man and his personalities. I am intrigued by this story, and I'm liking it a lot. So, are you enjoying Moon Knight? And I feel like that's a healthy place. Like, yeah, down to hear your thoughts on that. And I can also... They taken liberties. Okay. I hope that the liberties that they're taking aren't making it less enjoyable. Which do without some of the humor. Oh, it's like Moon Knight the comic, way more serious in tone. I enjoyed the humor, but again, it feels like I'm on the outside looking in. It feels like I'm a guest in the space, so I'm trying to be respectful, and I'm not going to be like, it's, from the perspective of someone completely unfamiliar with it. And I feel like Moon Knight once cut a dude's face off with one of his moon daggers. That man is wild. Do you think that we're going to see something that violent in this show? And I'm only asking because even the stuff that they were showing, like, even the glass to me that's kind of wild. It was an enemy. That's not the guy we getting, which is fine. You think no way we're seeing that? Okay. Okay, so let me... Oh yeah, I wanted to edit the stream info. Now we can get to what we want to get to. So yeah, very much enjoying Moon Knight. But I can see how him supposed to be way more violent. Hello, Tommy.